Hey viewers, let's see what's going on in the world of lost AWOL women.
I'm giving up on dating in 2025 and here's why. Now I know what you're gonna say, Belle, you started the year out so optimistic. And I did, I really did. Just wanna preface all of this by saying I'm not giving up on love. I love love. I'm a certified lover girl. But I am giving up on dating, specifically dating apps. Before I get into the reasons, let's have a little recap of my dating year. I had 5 first dates this year and 1 ongoing situationship that won't be continuing into next year. Out of those 5, I was ghosted by 3 of them, 1 cheating scandal, and 1 that I thought was literally my next husband. Turns out he did not feel the same way. If we think about the positives, all of them were lovely men in their own way. The one thing that I think that they've all had in common is they really enjoy being on the dating apps. I think some people really enjoy the excitement of matching and meeting with new people, seeing what is just around the corner, seeing if they can find someone better. And look, if that's the way they want to live their lives, then they should absolutely do so. And don't get me wrong.
And that doesn't make it right. I think this is how history taught us that most civilizations ended, through lust and these kind of uncommitted trends or habits or cultures in societies. That's how these great empires fell. And we're dibble-dabbling around with it like we're completely ignorant of it. And I think it's time we started to wake up.
Be wrong, dating apps absolutely have their place. It can be really fun. They do require an energy and time investment. And with my whole philosophy of really only investing time in things that I get joy from, I just don't want to continue to go through the process of matching and chatting and not really getting anywhere. So in 2025, I am pouring all of that energy back into me and the things that bring me joy, my career, my girls, my friends. And feel free to send your brothers, friends, bosses, dads my way in 2025, but if you do happen to see me on a date, it is not going to be with a man from an app.
So the sad part about this is, and this is what women have done to themselves, the majority of women aren't pursuing anything with men anymore. Men are going out there and just going through the numbers themselves, which I wouldn't recommend either. I wouldn't recommend that. And people are, quite frankly, just lost. They're lost on the carousel. And it's one of those things where it's very difficult to get off. And if you do, you fall off and you end up in the dust, scarred, maimed, and like this woman, on her own, with children and a father that doesn't live with his children. And that's not the way it was planned to be. You know, the sad way about how relationships have degenerated and the attitude of swap and change and all this sort of stuff, and the damage that comes with that, the lack of resolve, the inability to keep a relationship healthy and this kind of thing. It's really turned around on the whole of society, and you'll watch it parallel into degeneracy and lies. You see it in the politicians and everything, the corrupt politicians and this sort of everything in society falls by the level of morality it upholds.
Here it is. I'm 40 and I'm single. How are y'all doing this? Oh, I have some stories though. Like, where are people's morals and values these days? Where are mine? Really? Maybe I'm worried about the wrong thing. I mean, honestly, I don't even know what I'm worried about. Maybe that's the problem. Am I done healing? Am I ready for this? Yeah, I'm just gonna get back to work and stop thinking about this. You know what's gonna be funny is when I watch this again next year to see how things have changed or unfolded. Peace.
Yeah, well, you know, a lot of these people are trying to work out why they are single and they can't find their way out of it. And they're tired of being pumped and dumped and all the rest of it. And there's things are what they are, and I guess individually we've got to work it out for the best of ourselves and the people or person in our life. And if we fail to do that, we end up again, as I said, in the dust, really, with stubbed toes and corns on our heels, wondering what happened and why things went wrong. But we didn't do the work. We didn't sit down and say, what have I got to do to turn this around? And part of that was to learn that people need to be respected, and you need to be able to play your part in a healthy relationship. And the ones that don't want to do that, you get away from those people. You leave them. You leave them be.
So I'm just pulling in from a breakfast date, and it was potentially the worst date I've ever had in my life. The texting for like 2 days was decent. Nothing crazy. I'm a big fan of let's meet, because I feel like in person, you don't have like hours to think of a response, and you can't make up facial reactions and body language. So I feel like it's more realistic. Also, I don't love the idea of like a pen pal forever. So after 2 days, you want to meet for breakfast? That sounds like a fabulous idea. I'm in. Let's find a place with eggs Benny and let's get chatting. And this man, unprovoked, says he thinks it's very important for a relationship to have a planner and a non-planner. And as a planner, it makes my skin crawl, because all I hear is, I'm a man-child and I want somebody to parent me. I want a mommy that I can, right? That's what I hear. So then he goes on to tell me that the reason that he got divorced after 18 years of marriage is because she was a planner and he wasn't. So consistently, she would make plans for them, either as a couple or as a family, and then he would forget, which means that she told him and he just chose not to remember. And if you don't have a good memory, write it down. I don't have a good memory. I live by my planner. So he admitted that she would tell him and he would consistently forget. So like, who's the problem here? And then he would make plans to do something else. And in his stories, he said that his something else was almost always playing hockey with the boys. Okay. So your wife makes plans for you as a family to do something. You choose to not remember, and then you choose hockey. So he'd be getting ready for hockey. She'd be getting ready to go out, and she'd say, oh, did you forget? And then he laughs and he's like, well, obviously. And then I went and played hockey. I'm like, oh, so it's not that you're a planner. It's that you're incredibly selfish and you don't give a shit about anyone else around you. And yet you want her to be the villain in your story. And you think that's a flex on a first date?
Well, she's made him a pretty big villain, hasn't she? God. It's just a mess on the carousel, guys.
Like, is he testing my boundaries? Because he met them. And they came out and said hello. And then they said goodbye. And I said, yeah, I can see how that would frustrate your wife. And he goes, yeah, that's probably why our marriage fell apart. And I said, yeah. And that's probably why you don't get a lot of second dates. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah.
So these people are all mad. They're all lost it.
Think we're bonding. I'm siding with them. I don't ever want to see you again. I don't think he got it though. He's been texting me all morning. So I just got back from a breakfast date. What is wrong with men? They are absolutely unhinged these days. Within the first, I'm not kidding you, 5 minutes of us sitting down and talking, he told me that the reason his divorce fell, like why his marriage fell apart and why he got divorced, was because his wife expected too much of him. Do you know what she expected? She wanted him to say, I love you every day. And he thought that was too much. He was like, every day? I was like, only once a day? I think they'd been married for like more than 10, less than 20 years. And when your wife is saying, I feel disconnected from you, I don't know where I stand with you, can you please connect with me? Can you please tell me you love me? And your response is, oh, that's too much to ask.
One of the things about this is there is a place for that. Obviously the relationship she's talking about disintegrated to the point where the man wasn't willing to meet his wife's needs. This is what the men and the women are coming up against on the dating sites. Dysfunctional men and dysfunctional women. This woman's obviously on her own for a reason. I don't know what that is. Obviously the men that she's meeting and picking. Let's see what this finishes up like.
Is it any shock she left him? Nope, not at all. And that was all I needed to know. So I don't think I've ever been on a shorter date in my life. That was over pretty quick. I was like, well, I see where she's coming from, because that would be a deal breaker for me too. And he was like, what? I was like, yeah. Do you still feel that way? Like, do you feel justified? Or were you like, wow, I screwed up and I've been in therapy and now I know better? And he was like, every day seems a little excessive. And I was like, well, this date's over, so.
So what you've got is these women that seem to be going around picking men that obviously, if she's, if she's spot on, then what's she doing with these people? If she's so good, number one, why is she on her own? Number two, what's she doing with these people? Just picking random people off the dating sites and putting herself into these situations and then finding out that they're just not going to be convenient for her and leaving a little trail of covert destruction behind herself. All right? It's called an emotional body count. It's not necessarily a physical body count. But meeting these people, I don't know what she's looking for or where this is all going to end up, but for most of them, they just end up on their own. Their values and their morals and their, what could you say, their structure. Like she's making out she's got structure, but justifying her structure by the dysfunctions of the people that she's meeting. How would she go if someone come along that was a great supply and said, right, let's get it on? How would she really go? Would she eventually begin to narcissize the relationship like she has these dates? These people are being transparent with her. They've obviously got their faults. I'm sure there's bigger pictures to their stories for the reason why they've ended up the way they have. One way or another, they've ended up alone, and they're out meeting these types of women as well. I don't know. Like if you got into a marriage with this woman and this is how she's searching out the conclusions of these dates, this is the best you can do, you're guaranteed that somewhere along the line in a relationship or in a marriage, if you're a Gary Supply, this person will probably narcissize you, because she's narcissizing very quickly with joy the dates that she's gone on. Guys, stay safe. Girls, stay safe. Watch out there. It's falling apart. The carousel ends up with you with your face planted in the dirt while it still spins around. I'll see you on the next one, guys. Bye for now.